Okay, I'm Ace, and today me and Grady will talk about designing resistance training programs. The basis of designing a resistance training program all depends on your client's goals. You're obviously going to have a different program for someone who's trying to get big and muscular as to someone who's trying to lose weight, cut down, or someone's trying to get better cardiovascular shape, better, whatever their goal is. That's what you will base the resistance training program.
Grady, and the first slide we're going to talk about is the importance of resistance training. There's a lot of key factors in the importance of it. One of them is gaining lean muscle mass, which a lot of people strive to do, lose body fat and maintain body weight, which is key for a healthy lifestyle. Strengthens bones and lowers risk for osteoporosis, which is just strengthening the bones, and it may prevent the development of lower back syndrome, which is a big problem today in a lot of exercises, and a lot of ways people exercise also affects the way they deal with the low back syndrome. So make sure you do the right form, the right exercises, and that can help prevent that. So there's two different types of resistance training. There's isometric, which is standing still. A lot of people do this if they have trouble with a lot of movement, a lot of multi-joint or single joint problems. Then there's a different type called dynamic training. This is more of the athlete's way of training. This is how a lot of movement is involved in this resistance training, and a lot of different motions and exercises as well.
Okay, isometric training. It's great for increasing muscle mass through time under tension. Many people do not realize the importance of time under tension, as they just want to bust out a bunch of reps. Time under tension is the amount of time your muscle is in the eccentric phase, and that results in building muscle, of course. So, isometric training, if we were to pretend these two erasers were dumbbells, if I wanted to do an example of an isometric training method, we'll do an isometric lat raise. So we'll raise and then hold for 5 to 10 seconds regarding how heavy these are. But, all that time under tension will lead to a lot of muscle mass. It is used not only in strength training, but often rehabilitation scenarios. You see that a lot in ACL tears. Someone tears their ACL, they want them to hold here, get that joint mobile and strengthen every aspect of it. And now we're going to talk about dynamic training. Dynamic training. It is the most common type of resistance training. This is your basic, your bench press, your squats, your joint movements, your curls, your triceps, your everything. This is the practical stuff you see every day. It's usually done with free weights. It is a staple in strength programs. You're not going to get a whole lot stronger without using dynamic training. It can be combined with isometric training. So if you remember, this isometric hold, you can do an isometric hold with your left while you're doing this. So you can go 5 of these, and you're combining the dynamic movement with the isometric hold. That is a great way to build strength and lean muscle mass without putting a lot of wear and tear on the shoulder joint. Dynamic training, you see it, your average Joes use dynamic training, your athletes, your powerlifters, your body, everyone in the fitness industry will utilize dynamic. Okay, training intensity. Training intensity should vary depending on goals, obviously. If you're trying to build muscle, you should build up from 85 to 95% of your 1 rep max, ranging from 5 to 1 reps. And if you're trying to lift for muscular endurance, the percentage should be lowered, and you should work on performing sub-max sets or higher reps. An example program, let's see. If I'm trying to build strength, I will take my 1 rep max, and I will weekly bump up the percentage. So let's say week 1, we're going off a bench press max here, 85%. That'll be the first week after I get this max. And I will work up to a set of 5+. Next week, I will build up 10 more percent, 95%, and I will work to a 3+. So that's practically a sub-max, or a 5 rep max, or a 3 rep max. And then the last week of this training phase, I will work to 105% for a 1+, and then I will reevaluate and see what my new max is. So that's a basic program for muscular strength using training intensities. For endurance, it's a little different. you want to keep it low and bust out sets of 8 to 12, and then even up to 10 to 15, and even submax rep out sets, going as many as you can. But you can actually combine these two. See, if I were to work up to that 1+ on this strength program, then after that you can throw in a set where you cut it down to 65, 55%, and hit your submax. And that's a good way to combine kind of the strength training while you're also working on muscular endurance.
Next slide we're going to talk about is sets. 1 to 2 sets for children and older adults. For older adults that are sedentary or children, and when I say children, I mean like middle schoolers that are kind of getting starting to get into strength training and fitness, because you don't want to start out too early. You're going to stunt your growth, your bones, your joints, stuff like that. They should just do 1 to 2 sets and probably low repetitions, just to get in the groove of things, to get their muscles ready, the muscles used to lifting, so they can go into multiple sets. And the next, we're going to talk about multiple sets as I go into it for serious athletes and people that these would be your high schoolers or your college athletes or just athletes or anybody that's quote unquote fit. Multiple sets is based on percentages, kind of like what Ace was saying. Smart sets work up to 1 rep or work up to a 2 or 3 or whatever you're working up to, just to make sure that you do it.
Okay, next we're going to talk about frequency. It's how often you're in the gym, in the weight room, working on resistance training. Beginners, this includes children, older adults, people just starting out. 1 to 2 days a week is plenty. Go in there and hit 2 days a week, full upper body day, full lower body day, 1 total body day. But you should be able to break that trend pretty quick and start getting in there 2 to 3, and just progressively building up. Excuse me. 3 to 4 days a week. That's for optimal strength gains. That's for people starting to get a little more serious into it. Give your muscles time to recover, so you can have a maximal effort all 3 to 4 days you are in the weight room, and that usually results in the best strength gains. You can see even more gains with 4 to 6, but that is if the athlete is on a specific program. Because if you're just in there banging out random workouts 4 to 6 days a week, it's not going to work. You're going to overwork your muscles. It's just going to be a mess. So if you're in there that much, you should be on a specific program by someone who knows what they're doing, and that will result in the best strength. Okay, next slide. Volume. Your volume of your exercise should vary on your goals. Obviously, if you're trying to get stronger, you're going to up that intensity, and you're not going to be able to bang out as many reps. And if you're trying to work on hypertrophy or muscular endurance, that people recommend more reps, which is true just because more reps results in more time under tension. But right here, more reps doesn't always mean more muscle. Time under tension is the best way to get muscle gains, and that's the truth. Dr. Charles Poliquin recommends time under tension with low reps and a long eccentric contraction over more reps, actually. So an example of that would be, instead of banging out 15 curls really fast, if I'm doing hammer curls and I'm banging 15 of them out really fast, that might take not even 15 seconds. Well, if I'm doing a set of 5 and using a 4-second eccentric contraction, 1, 2, 3, 4, then my muscles are going to have more time under tension than they would with 15 reps. So volume, although it can be used for your hypertrophy goals, you need to touch more on time under tension for hypertrophy. Okay, next slide, order of exercises. This is kind of how you should structure your resistance training program. Your core lifts first, and then your accessory work. Your core lifts, those are your big multi-joint movements, your bench press, your deadlift, your back squat, your main lifts that are going to make you the most strong or lean or whatever your goals are. These lifts work large muscle groups and recruit a lot of areas of the body. You should hit every major muscle group in one workout for upper and lower body. So if you're doing upper body day, you should work your full upper body. You see a lot of bodybuilders bang out, they'll hit a full day of just chest. And you'll get stronger that way, but it's not the most efficient way to work your body is to hit every major muscle group in that area. An example of an upper body schedule for a full day would be a horizontal push with a horizontal pull, a vertical push with a vertical pull, a tricep with a bicep, and then a shoulder with a rear delt. That format, that'll get you a long way. That works agonist versus antagonist, and helps with muscular balance. So an example of like that, what we would do. Another thing with order of exercises, you want to slowly progress from during your workout. Heavier weight at the beginning with your core lifts, and then you're going to ease down the weight and add more reps as you go through the program. So an example of an upper body day with this sequence, we'd have your horizontal push, so let's say a bench press. And you would pair that with a horizontal pull, you know, agonist versus antagonist. So we will do just a barbell row. And these will be your heavy multi-joint lifts, and you know, you want them heavy. This is where you work on your muscular strength. So we'll go 5 sets of 5. Next, this is where, let's see, what do we got? Vertical push, vertical pull. So we can go overhead press. 4 sets of 10. We're cutting reps, lightening the weight, and then we can do just neutral grip pull-ups. There's your vertical pull. Then you want to do your bicep and tricep press downs, 3 by 15, and then your curls, 3 by 15 as well. And then your last, your shoulder. And so this is what I like to do personally. I add the shoulder movement at the end, because in resistance training, shoulders are probably the most common in your lower back, and probably the most common injuries you see. So that's always where you want to stick. You don't want to overload the shoulder joint. So that's why we really go lightweight on these, and maybe add some more isometric style of stuff here. So we can do just like a 30-second lateral raise hold. And pair that with a rear delt, just normal old rear delt flies. 2 sets of 20. So I mean, that's just a practical format you can follow to make sure you hit every important muscle group. You're hitting all your presses, all your pulls in one day. And when you hit that with more frequency instead of overloading, it just results in the best gains of strength. And it's also the most healthiest, because you're not putting so much stress on one section of the body.
So next, we're going to talk about variations for sets during the set. Use variations while you're exercising during your sets. Add different exercises into that set to work the same muscle groups. For example, for your elbow flexor, these would be your bicep curls and whatnot. You can do hammer curls, or you can do incline dumbbell curls on a bench, or you can do barbell curls with the barbell. There's 2 different methods that people usually go for. There's a light to heavy method, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's lightweight to heavyweight. And then there's a heavy to light method, which is heavier weight working down to a lighter weight. There's a term that the exercise world kind of uses called pyramiding, which is a light to heavy weight system where the client will perform as many as 6 sets, given more or less, depending on the person. This is where you slowly move up from a light weight to a heavier weight. So for example, you move up from 10-pound curls for the first set to third set, maybe 25. So what we're going to talk about is variations for the order and the number of exercises during your workout. During a workout, kind of what Ace is touching up on earlier, start with your larger multi-jointed muscle groups, such as your legs or your chest. This would be your core exercises like your bench press and your back squat, your deadlift. And then you'd move to your smaller single jointed muscle groups later on in the workout. This helps prevent fatigue. Groups like this would be your biceps, your triceps, maybe core, and a lot of athletes and people that are just exercise regularly, they like to use a term called supersetting. This is where you basically do a workout, and instead of resting between the workouts, you will continue to move, or you'll move on to what's next. So say you'll do a bench press, and let's not use bench press. Say you use like a barbell or dumbbell curl, and you, without resting, without going to get water, you go straight to your tricep press down or your rope press down or whatever exercise you have. And last slide, we're going to talk about the variations for frequency. A lot of people take part in the advanced resistance training programs. This is basically a 3 days a week type program. This is, you're hitting different muscle groups, but you're giving, 2 days for muscle recovery. For people that work out more than 3 times a week, say they just work out the week, the 5 days, Monday through Friday, they'll usually take part in the split routine that's targeting different muscle groups on consecutive days. So for example, like on Monday you'll do bench, and on Tuesday you'll do a leg workout. Wednesday you may do a little bit more chest, but a different, like an isolateral dumbbell bench. And then on a Thursday you'll do, a deadlift or another leg workout. And this, a lot of people choose this because it works out the entire body, but also gives, 1 day for each muscle group time to recover.